Well, hello, that's me again. Today is May 18th, 2025. It is the end of the weekend. Well, for some it's the end, for me it's morning essentially. So well, let's wrap up the week. And I will start with something which is already becoming nauseating. And we know that Mr. Trump desperately needs some kind of the result. Obviously, he also is aiming at probably getting the Nobel Peace Prize. Not that it's worth much at all anymore. So, but here we have statement by Vladimir Putin, which is coming on the eve of the announced telephone talk between Mr. Trump and Mr. Putin. And here is what President of Russia states. And as you can see yourself, Russia wants to ensure its security and create the conditions for long-term sustainable peace. And that's what he repeats again, which Russia was repeating it again and again and again since 2021, essentially. Russia wants to eliminate the causes that cause this crisis, create conditions for long-term sustainable peace, and ensure the security of the Russian state and the interests of our people in those territories that we've always talked about. Well, actually, it's not just, as they say, the four new oblasts like Donetsk, Lugansk, Kherson, and Zaporozhye. He is talking about, in general, Russian population, which is spread over in the what is called, used to be called Malorussia. And I don't know why RT decides to make this comment, because in this respect now, the security of the territories which are now part of Russian Federation, like Crimea, obviously, which is out of the question in terms of discussion, Donetsk, Lugansk, Kherson, and Zaporozhye is provided by Russian armed forces and overall under the auspices of the Russian military doctrine and political doctrine. So, but it is what it is. So, Mr. Trump is desperate. We know that he is desperate, and his movements, his constant hot air ballooning and those grandiose statements are becoming really tiresome at this point of time. And you have to understand that Russians know extremely well who Mr. Trump is, and they know the game, and they know the game better than Americans, and they know what essentially have already been pretty much stated openly by even some top officials. But well, I've been on record from the get-go that the United States lost the arms race, it lost the Cold War, if you wish. It can still create all kinds of nasty precedents, and it still can pretend that it is this wonderfully great power. But the point is that no matter what Mr. Trump does, the reality of Russian demand, well, it doesn't change. Nothing they can do about it. But, well, Mr. Trump, since he, as we all know, he is the head of the state which defeated everything and everybody and is the greatest thing ever, well, it is what it is. Nothing you can do about it. However, on the so to speak, within the same vein, we have the people from Valdai. Valdai is the, it's discussion platform which was created by all those humanities so-called educated people. Well, some of them Mr. Lukyanov and all that. It was created to promote Russian point of view. They do not do really good job, except that they provide sometimes platform. Mr. Putin comes out there, or Mr. Lavrov, and speaks, and of course the world listens, no matter where they speak about it. It could be on Valdai or, for crying out loud, from the International Space Station, but the world is listening. However, even their program director, the guy who is tightly connected with the notorious, places like Higher School of Economics, which is one of the main generator of Russian pro-Western liberals, even he suddenly recognizes what I was talking about for many years. Yeah, I'm sorry, I did. And Mr. Bardachev, who is the program director of Valdai, he suddenly concludes, what does Russia have to gain from the EU now? He absolutely correctly states in his yesterday's piece, actually it's the piece from the 12th of May, but it was translated by the RT team on the 17th of May. So that it offers demands attention but offer no value. And he absolutely correctly states that at present the answer appears to be very little. EU leaders behave as though Russia remains in the country they remember from the 1990s, isolated, weakened, and desperate to be heard. Absolutely correct. I mean, this is the issue of the, as I already stated many times, so-called strategists and so-called intel services, which cannot provide proper assessment. They can't. There is actually a compelling case now to say that we have the wholesale incompetence on the top military political level, including in the United States. And yeah, they really are stuck in 1990s, together with that table of equipment, organization and equipment. So, and Bardachov continues. So, to his credit, you know, the EU elite's fundamental miscalculation is assuming that Russia still views the western part of a continent as model to emulate. Yes, this is miscalculation. Fact is, Russians, I mean, always or pretty much nauseated to the point of throwing up when looking towards modern Europe, and they do not view Europe not only as a model anymore, but there is as I stress constantly, the worst thing for Europe is beginning to happen. Russians are beginning to live better than Europe, and this is the other thing. And of course, as I already stated, we look at the degenerative processes which actually only accelerate and gain strength in Europe across its academic and political top. And yeah, we look at them, most of them are morons. They love to talk. So, and he talks about, which is correct, that the era of this of the combined West is ending, and the region Europe specifically no longer defines the terms of modernity. Absolutely, the only thing they can produce modern Europe today is some kind of their shock value so-called culture, and yeah, they just hate Russians. They always did, and Russians know this. This is the point. Russians are very aware of that, and so that's what we get. Just looking at the overall state of the Russia combined West relations, they are not good, and they're not gonna be good. And when Mr. Putin says that, oh, sometime in the future we may get the new, the political dynamics in the Europe, no. Europe is descending into the totalitarian nightmare, and it will continue to be so. So, and for foreseeable time, unless of course Europeans somehow rise up, which I doubt it. They don't have enough guts and desire to do so. So, and we have now the development obviously on the front, which is really, really important. Russians already mopped up, is full control of the Bogatiri, the town of Bogatiri, which was a critical logistical and defense point. It's one of the strong points of actually the operational axis there. So it's gone now. And if we go back, go to our good friend Marat Khairulin, we already can see that actually the preparation for the offensive on the Pokrovsk-Konstantinovka axis is getting ready. Here it is. You can take a look at the map, and you see yourself yesterday. As you can see yourself, there are a bunch of the cauldrons are forming there. As you can see yourself, it's Konstantinovka, and those are, those Russian, as I already stated, arrows, we've been talking about those big arrows, they are becoming longer and longer. For example, from Dzerzhinsk, and as you can see yourself, Russians are also closing the cauldron around Pokrovsk. There you go, we can take a look at closer at this thing, and I was repeating it ad nauseam. Until Russians will surround Pokrovsk completely on three sides, making this not just operational but probably tactical surrounding or envelopment, they will leave a little bit of the opening for the defenders, so-called, of this 152nd and 68th Brigade and all those forces to get out. And while they will be getting out, they will be killed. So that's pretty much standard Russian procedure in this in special military operation, and you can expect pretty much the same dynamics. And so, and we can take a look at losses. They kind of slow down slightly. Today it's 1,245, but it crossed this already psychological barrier, if you wish, of 1,200,000, mostly KIAs. And then again, I want to stress it over and over and over. Secondary deaths from PTSD, from the tactical and operational rear, the Russians do not even report them, and they are massive. They might be as large as the, so in this case, we're looking what, 1.5 million KIAs, most likely. So, and I want to warn people to understand that when the real numbers will be, not for a while, they will be presented, the number will shock them. So, and this will be also counted as one of the greatest war crimes and atrocity by the combined West, who, as Mr. Putin constantly says, well, it's behind all that crisis. But what can I say? You cannot communicate to people like Trump, Merz, or whoever and say that, okay, let's deal with this from the point of view of the common good. No, they will view it as the weakness. This is how West, modern West especially, views things due to total ignorance and due to very many other factors which we will discuss shortly here. But so, but before we go, there is a very interesting thing which has happened. Here is the what is called the Green Admire thingy. It left one of the Estonian ports yesterday, and guess what? It was crossing Russian territorial waters because it's more, well, not only profitable, it's safer because they do not have to basically circumnavigate those shoals in the territorial waters of Estonia. And guess what? The Russian Coast Guard just stopped it. It's just the message. Russians are nice people. They got their, party on board, checked papers and things like that. And this is a message to Estonia and to NATO. Two can play the game, and if they want to play this game, Russia can indeed blockade anything which comes out of the Baltic states. Simple as that. Russia has enough resources and capability. So that's just the, the message. Yeah. But the reason this thing, which is this video, is called the disclaimer is because of that. You see, this is disclaimer. This disclaimer is from the actually the famous and very good, generally very good, well, very good in terms of representing all kinds of views of the U.S. Army War College called Parameters publication. It's very famous. And disclaimer: articles, reviews, and replies, review essays, and book reviews published in Parameters are unofficial expression of opinion. The views and opinions expressed in Parameters are those of authors and are not necessarily those of the Department of the Defense, Department of the Army, the U.S. Army War College, or any other agency of the U.S. government. The appearances of external hyperlinks does not constitute endorsement by the Department of Defense of the linked websites or the information products. So, well, pretty much standard disclaimer. And this is good that they make this disclaimer, and I'm not going to be, for example, blame them too much, albeit I still would have to say that people and editors who work there, they should know the at least generally standard to which they have to adhere when they publish something. And most of the time there are some very interesting ideas, there are some very interesting history vignettes, if you wish, in the Parameters, some views on the issue of strategy and operations, well, less on operations. But here is the very thing of interesting thing from the latest one. Fresh one. It's the spring 2025, and this is where I have to ask the question from people from Parameters. Come on, guys, you can do better than that. And we will start with this thing. The butt hurt is there. The palliative therapy is there. They just cannot live with this. And here we have the article as you can see yourself, written by Spencer Warren. Who Spencer Warren is, we'll get to this. As you can see yourself, it is the US Army War College quarterly parameters, and the piece is called Russian Novel Nuclear Weapons and War Fighting Capabilities. Okay, sure, I picked up, this basically publication. I periodically follow it because it's interesting, obviously. And so Mr. Warren gets, immediately into the thing, which is like, strange. Why does he write this? So he talks about, of course, KH, which is 47 Kinjal, 3M22 Zircon, and things of this nature. Well, they can certainly carry the nuclear warhead, but evidently Mr. Warren also has no clue about the nuclear warfare. But here it is, he's published in the parameters, and he's talking about this. While novel weapons are technically revolutionary, they only provide a minor evolution in Russian capabilities. Okay, so this is actually a pretty self-contradictory thing, because revolutionary weapons are actually usually provide not a minor, and whatever is minor evolution in Russian capabilities, it is some kind of the word salad, and I will explain why it is a word salad, and it is a coping of the unimaginable level. And so he writes further. Additionally, their performance may not match Russian claims. The Kinzhal and Zircon have proven more effective than older weapons at overcoming rudimentary Ukrainian air missile defense systems in Ukraine. Neither has met Russian expectation, and both remain vulnerable to advanced American-made defense systems such as the Patriot missile. My jaw dropped drop on the floor, and I was having issues trying to pick it up again. So first, I don't know where Mr. Warren knows why they do not match Russian claims. Russians actually openly laugh, especially on the so-called advanced American-made air defense systems, especially as the Patriot missiles. By different estimates, up to 30 of those weapons have been annihilated. But Mr. Warren, evidently, I will explain why I make fun out of this nincompoop, how the hell he wrote this. Why does he make those claims? He obviously has no way of knowing this. I do, unlike him, but then again, I'm former military professional, and obviously I can communicate with people who are in the know, if not the first hand, but at least second hand. But they are serious people. They are very serious people. Senior officer in the level of the operational level officers, some of them acting, these are colonels, and even, well, let me not go there. So if he thinks they remain vulnerable, he needs to take a look at the videos of the Ukrainian, so to speak, air defense, which doesn't work. It's not there. It's been completely annihilated. But Mr. Warren doesn't stop here. He comes out with the incredible thing, and the deployment of Patriot batteries in the spring of 2003 significantly reduced the Kinzhal's effectiveness. Really? First time I hear that. The Kinzhal likely slows during its descent, making it vulnerable to Patriot. Patriot batteries destroyed 5 or 6 Kinzhal missiles that Russia fired at Kyiv during the battery's first engagement with the Kinzhal. The 6th Kinzhal damaged a Patriot battery. Contrary to Russian reports that the Kinzhal destroyed, the Patriot battery was operational shortly after. So, and you can see yourself, this is the level of the, well, teenager from the high school, and guess where he where did he get his claims of that information? Well, I can tell you where from propaganda from Ukrainians. And yes, as you know, they shoot Kinzhals and Zircons every day. And they kill also 500,000 Russians every day. So, and then you begin to look at this and say, how the hell this delirium, and this is obviously written by military amateur, the guy who has no clue what he is writing about, and then the mystery is solved. And boy, if you are not sitting, please sit down. Here's your Spencer Warren, who is a postdoctoral fellow in technology and international security at university, Institute of Global Conflict and Cooperation based in Washington, D.C. He received a PhD in political science from Indiana University, Bloomington, where he also graduated affiliate of the Indiana University Russian Studies Workshop. His dissertations explored the mechanism driving Russian nuclear modernization in 21st century. He received a Bachelor of Arts in International Relations, and in other words, the guy is moron. He is not educated. His PhD, postdoctor fellow, his diploma, it cannot be used even as the toilet paper because it's pretty rough, and you know how they print them on the very thick paper. So, but yeah, he can basically roll it and yeah, I'm not gonna go there. So this is your specialist in Russia. Look at him. I don't know how much pot he smokes while writing this crap, I mean, which is obviously written by people, I mean, high schoolers. Some high schoolers without any PhD can actually give a better take on what is written there, but this is the type of expertise which United States and combined West have about Russia. The guy won't even dare to talk to me because, well, you know, it's gonna end up really badly for him because obviously he doesn't understand basic technological issues. He can't. He has degree in political science, which is not science, and it's not a degree, it's not education. It actually, if you want to look up what political science is, let me remind you, obviously, our favorite, well, he's not my favorite, I think he is rather fake, and his kind of epiphanies which he has, Mr. John Mearsheimer, when people tell me something that he is so great about political science, let me remind you this. Remember, well, he said that Russia was declining state, and it's actually really irrelevant. 2014, it is what 2014 when I wrote that, hello dudes, you better wake up, you didn't do the smart thing. And it doesn't matter if he correctly states, which everybody knew, who is not completely brainwashed, that it was the United States which well, basically initiated this, as our good friend Larry Johnson says, arson against Russia in Ukraine. But this is the type of expertise which US so-called intellectual people are dealing with. And this is US Army War College no less publication. This is a pathetic coping high school level essay by the guy who would know the first thing about what are the modern systems, how they integrate, how they are actually operated. I do, he doesn't. But then again, I'm sorry, you probably know my background. And of course the background of people who are my good friends. So when you look at this, it's like, well, I don't know why U.S. Army War College will put that thing out there. They, however, have their other publications, and they talk about this, and they write, which they have to, obviously, in terms of how you view the United States today. And here is the one of those pieces also from the March 20, 2025. This is by Leonid Popescu. And again, these are people who are from all kinds of walks of life in terms of humanities, you know, and they talk about defense strategy, which how you have want to adapt to the great power competition. I can tell you, those are useless articles other than pure academic, you know, whiteboard mental exercises, because there are no strategists in the United States on the top political level. None. They do not exist. United States never could do strategy in the modern times. And so he talks about, you know, grand strategy, how you have to adapt this. And he actually uses there for some reason the Civil War example, but you know what, American Civil War. But here it is. And so he notes, not without some merit, that military strategic planning in the great power competition era must center around great power war and admit that challenges such as conflict would realistically pose to the current US military. Well, I wrote 4 books about, he can read them and conclude that basically we now know, especially when we consider the host of issues pertaining, for example, from preposition PM3 of the US forces in case of war to actual capability of the US Army. It's not going to end up well if United States wants to go, for example, against a Russian army conventionally, which makes United States highly biased towards nuclear option, because it's conventionally United States is weak. And in addition to preparing for a great power war, the United States should prioritize winning the new naval arms race against PLA Navy to maintain its maritime supremacy and deny China global peer rival status. Again, I don't know why United States should do this, but the point is the only thing which is the real actually value in the US Navy remains it's the dwindling and declining, but still very high level, world-class submarine force. Other than the rest of it, China simply, guys, have you checked recently the scale of Chinese shipbuilding? Yeah, United States doesn't even register there. So, and it's the largest shipbuilding in the world, and China simply can it's already doing this, outproduce United States in terms of the surface fleet. Simple as that. But then, of course, Mr. Ionescu, whatever, he says that the second required interruption of the great power competition era in defense strategy is coming to terms with the type of warfare in which the US military would have to engage in a great power war. The guy evidently wants to fight, but sure. The type of conflict that is now the main priority. Unlike the previous 20 years of fighting low-tech insurgents, in the greater Middle East, the United States must be ready to fight a complex multi-domain battle against a sophisticated technological adversary that could deny US and allied forces the situational awareness, air dominance, and freedom of maneuver they enjoyed in the post-9/11 wars. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can maneuver against, the same Taliban or Iraq, whatever you want. I mean, these are not real military, military or combined arms warfare competition or enemies. They're just nothing. While parts of the US military, like the Navy and Air Force, were not directly or heavily involved in counterinsurgency and continued investing their legacy programs, other major military components and the defense industrial base focus on improving US capabilities to track and kill terrorists, not to fight peer adversaries. United States never could fight peer adversaries. This is the read my lips. You can repeat it. It doesn't matter what United States was doing. We know how it ended in Korea. We know how it ended in Vietnam. And the United States of that time was nothing like the United States today, which cannot produce a freaking toilet for less than $200 and have to order them from China. The American military technological advantage over its great power rivals has reduced dramatically over the past 2 decades, and the Washington defense establishment should admit to this new reality and adjust its strategic planning accordingly. Again, United States doesn't know how to do strategic planning. It's absent from the United States for a simple reason, because everything United States and Europe know about the war and warfare was picked up and shaped by Wehrmacht and SS based on the fairy tales they were telling them, and as the result they don't have the data sets, they never had the access. For example, very few people go to Russia and ask the access to, for example, to the Russian Ministry of Defense main archive in Podolsk. Nobody will do it. The shyster like this Sir, whatever the hell name, Anthony Beaver, he actually refused to go there. He said that he felt more comfortable with the German sources. Well, guys, you paid the price for it. Germans told you this fairy tale, how they almost defeated Soviet Union, but somehow, you know what, evidently because Soviet Union threw at them 1.5 billion bodies. So there you go. You can only yourself to blame for that. And he talks about that Andrew Kripke Jr., one of Washington's most senior defense analysts, warned that the United States can no longer assume it will enjoy local superiority at the high-end conventional and warfare spectrum against PLA. Really? They want to fight China? Where? The only place where United States can theoretically fight China is in the, obviously, ocean. in terms of army, they have no clue what are they dealing about. First, they will be, even if to imagine that somehow the US Navy able, together with the preposition force, to end up doing the amphibious disembarking and collecting its whatever dwindling forces, they will be annihilated by Chinese. Apart from the fact that Chinese immediate mobilization pool is around 25 million people. They can basically uniform them, give them weapons, and they are trained. So does the United States want to fight that? Well, of course. And so, the rest of it, they talk about the, all kinds of the strategy, mamba jamba. But the point is, even when you look attentively at the publications of the U.S. War College and the, especially like this clown, Mr. Warren, you can see yourself it's a coping big time. And the point is that when I warned that United States lost the actually arms race, I mean it. I constantly repeat it. I mean it. The only thing in which United States retains a relative edge, and again, the gap is closing really fast, is the ISR, namely space-based constellation. This is what it is. Everything else, optronics, Al-Qaeda radar and things like that, United States have been, the gap either was closed or Russians are so far ahead that I cannot even describe it again. And the fact, of course, the only thing they can do is be in denial. It's the coping Kubler-Ross mechanism. And Mr. Warren, before writing anything on the army and especially technology things, how about he goes back to school and try to get into engineering program, which will give him at least basic understanding of the physics of the processes which are involved in terms of developing weapons and integrating them. So, but of course he doesn't know a thing about it. I mean, and that's why he writes those coping articles. But what can I say? Western education in general, humanities, feels like political science. It's a bunk. It's a fraud. It's academic fraud. And those people, they are desperately trying to find application by teaching basically all kinds of sorts of crap. So, but the problem, of course, normal and professional people, they do not go and basically make their careers out, trying to distinguish between if it is some kind of the cow or the bovine excrement or it is from some goats. But that's what those people do. They have no clue. Each time they caught with their absolute lack of any technical expertise and not just special, what is called the subject matter experts. But you know what? I've been on this record for so long. I don't know. So, and this is what I wanted to tell you today, and this is not, I'm not done with discussing the issues of the U.S. Army War College publication. I mean, the parameters. I suggest you to read it, though. I suggest you to pick up on sometimes very healthy and very, realistic ideas. But for some reason, they come primarily from the military people, not from PhDs in political science. I don't know even what PhD in political science is. And this is what I wanted to tell you today, guys, about this whole situation. And as always, those who before I go, I forgot. I had the guy, obviously Finnish guy, who like, oh yeah, there were no 500,000 in the Finnish army, and things of this nature. Well, if he looks up the 1941 statistics for the Finnish army, Finland's army, which is they call continuous war. This is the war, obviously, which the 1940 and 1939, 1940, the Winter War known between the Soviet Union and Finland. Well, they had, at that time, for 1941, after that it was increasing, 407,500 troops, which have been put together in the 16 infantry divisions of Finnish army. They had other brigade and regiment and all kinds of things, and they had the addition of the 4 German divisions, infantry divisions. So there you go. So if you have issues with numbers, I'm sorry, people. But Anyhow, in the end, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. And those who can afford, please support me on the Patreon or buy me a coffee and two. And that will be it for this weekend, guys. Enjoy the rest of it, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.